The Parent Pilot Kit is a wonderful opportunity for parents to learn about brain development, media literacy, and social norms. When you know those three things, the next thing you do is form parent peer groups, which are the groups of your children's friends' parents. And you learn to set boundaries and monitor behavior. When you know those things, you can go a long way toward helping your children grow up safe, healthy, and drug-free.
I'd like to welcome you to the Informed Families Media Agenda. Today's program is going to teach you a little bit about how media interacts with your children and teaches them that they need to do addictive and destructive lifestyles in order to fit into our culture. And what we're here today is to teach parents that not that you're a bad parent because you let your children access media, but how to be a better parent from here on now and how to use media in ways that enhance and develop healthy children. I want to actually spend a minute where we're going to get some reaction shots to put the cameras on the audience. Okay, now you guys are going to get a lesson in TV production because you think the camera's showing you what's going on. The camera always lies. The camera always lies. And here's how it lies. Right now, we're going to do the cutaway shot of the person who's impressed and nodding. Yes. Right. Now, we're getting the funny reaction shot. You found something funny, you're going to laugh. Here we go, let's laugh. All right, now we're going to do the applause like you really liked it, okay? I don't even know if you did. Do you guys understand the camera always lies? You think even when you're watching a reality show, you think you're watching reality, but no, you're not. Okay, you're watching somebody's story, and the story is always told by the owners of the corporation, and in this case, you're talking about a group of elderly, rich, certain ethnic people. Okay, who are mostly male, all right, and they're telling you their vision of the world. I told you about how most of the media is owned by a handful of corporations. There's a thing called public media, PBS, right? And of course, this is a bad thing. We should defund it. God forbid that anybody has access to people's voices who doesn't pay for it. And they run some TV programs for kids, the most popular of which you may recognize here. See? This is called educational TV. They're educating us. All right? So let's take a look at what education may or may not mean in this context.
Your kids' favorite characters from Teletubbies are now at Burger King. There's 6 beanbag finger puppets to collect in all. Get one in every tasty Kids Club hamburger meal you buy. Still just $1.99. And try a Teletubbies favorite, Tubby Custard from Jell-O, only at Burger King.
When you have it your way, it just tastes better.
Okay, so do you have an idea of what education means? Okay, you guys kind of see the connection. Education means we can sell it somehow or another. We're going to educate you that way. The American Academy of Pediatrics, the 55,000 doctors in our country who take care of your kids, said we should have no passive screens at all below age 2. A passive screen is your video, your TV, your computers, your movies, your pads, your phones. Those are all passive screens. What we have here is a slide of a dendrite, that's a brain cell, okay, from a normal developed rhesus monkey. Here we have an example of a dendrite from a monkey whose development was suppressed, okay? Now, you can see there's a lot of branches here, big healthy tree, big thick myofacial sheathing here, and not so much. The difference between these two monkeys growing up, monkey A got to play with all the other monkeys and do monkey stuff growing up. Monkey B got to stay in his cage and watch the other monkeys do it. This is the oldest part of your brain. The reptilian brain is primarily where visual information is processed. So when you see a picture, you process it in the reptilian brain. Processing in the reptilian brain is near instantaneous. Here's the limbic region. The limbic region is all this good stuff in here, and this is, scientists believe this is hundreds of thousands of years old, and that's where emotions and things like that get processed, those kinds of connections, memories stored in here and stuff like that. But now I want to introduce you to the new part of your brain, the new kid on the block, your neocortex, your frontal lobe, the gray matter, the actual fuzzy gray stuff here. This can be counted in tens of thousands of years. This is where higher reasoning is stored. This is where you process language information. Language gets processed here. It takes about 5 seconds to process language. You guys may not think it's that slow, but it is. When I was growing up, all right, the average time between a cut is when one scene of visual information is replaced with another scene of visual information. The average time between cuts was about 8 seconds. And if you watch old programs, you'll see young kids say, "This is slow, I can't watch it." So this is from the Fox box. Notice how fast the time is between cuts. Notice the timing on cuts.
The Fox box really rocks. Tell a friend.
Okay, so we've gone from like 8 seconds between cuts to maybe 8 or 10 cuts per second, between 0 and 6, and again, between 10 and 13. Your children's brains undergo massive growth spurts. That's when they're growing. And the rule of brain growth is you use it or you lose it. So during those particular times, 0 to 6, and again between 10 and 13, the stuff you're putting in your children's brain becomes their processing ability. So during those periods of time are critical windows when your child is going to be learning to use the language part of their brain, which is slow, or use the reptilian part of their brain, which is the button pushing, I react really fast. We get the idea that somehow we're going to learn imagination, that kids are exposed to this stuff, it's good for them, it's good for their imagination. So let's kind of take a look at how that really works.
Honeybees and Buzz Blasts. 3 magical new cereals from Kellogg.
All right, so you guys understand imagination is product, I imagine another product. So they tell you your kids are going to be more creative if they consume this stuff. Remember that Burger King tie-in I showed you? It's education. Your kids are going to be more creative. No, they're going to have better memory of media event. Do not mistake imagination with memory. If you want your kids to be creative, you need them to supply the pictures. This is why reading is such a handy thing, because when you read, you make up the story in your head. So now I promised I was going to show you how the media tells you that your parents are lame. Let's do a little Captain Crunch here.
I wonder who's babysitting today. Mrs. Winkler.
No playing. Go jumping on couches. Oh, loud music.
What if she says no Captain Crunch?
Oh, love your teeth, Eddie. Crunch and eyes. Welcome to my house. House party, that is.
All I want to do is jump and crunch. Please, jump and crunch.
My Captain Crunch cereal is a cool part of this balanced breakfast. Crunch past me, Captain.
So this is the constant message your kids are being given. Behind your back, don't listen to your parents. They're not cool. They're dumb. So here's some of the suggestions I want to give you now. The first one is the American Academy of Pediatrics. Our doctors say no passive screens at all below age 2. None, none, none. No TVs, no computers, no video games, no phones, none of that below age 2. Number 2, between ages 0 and 6, and again between 10 and 13, you need slow media. Your children need to have less media and they need to have slower media if they want to develop this frontal cortex. When you consume this media, I highly recommend you do 2 things when you're consuming this media. The first thing is that you consume it with your children. You get a sense of what they're watching if you watch it with them. Now, you don't have to watch everything with them, but you need to know generally the content. Now, the last thing you need to do is when you consume media, you need to talk back to it. You got to start to train your kids to go, did you see what they just showed you? That's the time to put it on pause. They said this is crazy. Now, your kids will think you're crazy. But there's a ton of research that shows parents who talk back to their TV sets, their kids drink less. Parents who set limits have healthier kids. You know that? You know, we don't drink, we don't expect you to drink, period. No discussion. You cut your own meeting in half, spend that time talking with your children. Reading to them is an ideal thing, and then go out and do things with them. The most important thing is that you spend time with your children, and dinner is the best way to do that since you're eating anyway. And there's a ton of research that shows if you're a family and you're eating dinner regularly together, a whole host of problems go away. Don't leave here thinking you're a bad parent. Leave here thinking you're going to be a better parent, because nobody ever taught you this stuff.